Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I'm Dennis McElroy, president of the ISTE Teacher Education Network, PLN. I want to welcome all of you to the first of this exciting webinar series, Championing Technology Infusion in Teacher Preparation. This series is sponsored by ISTE and the ISTE Teacher Education Network. A few logistics: we're going to be recording and posting these sessions on the ISTE 10 website where you registered for this session. And a link to the book chapter that's being explored today, Tech Infusion and Teacher Preparation, will be posted in the webinar chat at the end of the session. So Lori, take things away.
Great. So thank you all for coming. I'm also part of the ISTE 10 leadership group, and we're really excited for starting this series today with three of the chapter authors. I'd like to introduce all of them to you. The first is Arlene Borthwick. She's from National Louis University. And we have Teresa Folger from Arizona State University and Kevin Graziano from Nevada State College. So I'm really excited for what they have to share, and I'd like to turn it over to them so they can introduce themselves and get things started.
Hi, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about the content of our session. And I think the thing it does today is it really explains the title of the book. So the title of the book, Championing Technology Infusion and Teacher Preparation. These are the key words we're going to be talking about, are championing, it's hard to say, championing, and tech infusion. Teresa's going to explain kind of what the difference is between tech infusion and tech integration, which is two different terms we want to use in the right way in teacher prep. So we welcome you, and that's kind of an overview of the session today. Thank you for coming. And on to Teresa.
Yeah, I can go to the next slide, or whoever's. Okay, really just many of you know that the understanding
We're having a little trouble with your audio, Teresa. Aha, looks like she's going to dial back in. Well, we have shared this format that we have on the current slide with the webinar presenters that will be with us throughout these 10 webinars related to the book. And, you know, we think we want to be sharing kind of a different vision for what technology infusion is across teacher preparation. We hope that the attendees will be able to share some of their experiences and learn from one another. And we'll have an opportunity to connect. Is Teresa back?
I'm back.
Yay.
I had technology problems yesterday with my laptop, and I swear they were fixed, but we'll do the best we can. So welcome, everybody. We're so excited to see so many of you. I know there's varying levels of understanding about what technology infusion is, but I'm very sure that you're all here for excellent reasons and to build your capacity. Today, we're going to run through a 4-part agenda. First, we're going to look at the idea of technology infusion as a new vision for teacher preparation. We're going to talk about some shared experiences. We want to have you walk away with some solution-oriented resources, and then we're going to give you some time together to process some of this and come back and share out so that hopefully we can sort of cross-pollinate with one another. Okay, so I want to talk with you for a little bit about the difference between technology integration and technology infusion. And this is a new graphic that I'm trying out on y'all, so I'd be interested in hearing, maybe in the chat, what your perspective is. But As we presented in the book, technology integration is a point in time, and that would be the downward arrows that you see in gray on this timeline. So a point in time in a teaching experience or in a classroom or a learning opportunity where technology is leveraged to address curricular needs, right? So we're using Zoom right now as a technological tool. We're integrating it into the idea of broadcasting information broadly to the field through a webinar, right? So integration. Technology infusion is much different conceptually from that. It is being used in the book as a way to address defining preparation for technology, for teacher candidates in how they learn to teach with technology. It's a program deep and program wide approach. So if you think about the depth and the breadth of technology across the program, that kind of means that it's everywhere. All right. So it means specifically that technology is, the technology integration is taught theoretically, conceptually, through lesson planning, activity design, that faculty who teach in preparation programs, all faculty would be good models of technology, and that our teacher candidates get many opportunities to practice teaching with technology in order to grow their self-efficacy, their confidence, and their capacity for teaching with technology, even in a rapid shift to online learning, right? So again, all stakeholders, this idea of technology infusion means that all stakeholders surrounding a preparation program would need to be on board with this, including administrators. I know we have some administrators here, full-time faculty, part-time faculty, and also people out in the field who are mentor teachers, supporters for our teacher candidates. Thanks, Kevin. So I want to tell you a little bit about the story at Arizona State University where I work. Briefly, I was the one who taught the standalone technology course, which is, in my mind, contrary to Infusion. Technology was taught as an isolated experience in one course in the preparation program, and beyond that, it was sort of hit and miss. 10 plus years ago now, the dean in my college came to the ed tech faculty and said, hey, I want to put a year-long student teaching in place, right? How about if you agree to eliminate the technology course so that we can do this year-long student teaching? Well, we panicked, but then after a couple of weeks, we came back and said, all right, here's a new plan for addressing technology. And we think it's more aligned to the idea of practicing what we preach, right? Integrating technology into the content areas where we see technology could make the most difference, into the science methods courses, the math methods courses, right? Those content courses. So if you look at this diagram, stage one, the red dot was, as an example, me teaching the standalone course. And the gray line that goes pretty much horizontal but takes a bump in the middle of that red dot represents the technology emphasis of the curriculum across the breadth of our program back there 10 years ago. Okay, so technology was not really all that well represented in the program other than the technology course. In stage two, we worked extensively with content methods instructors and helped them make technology, again, the idea of omnipresent, deep and wide throughout their course. They were modeling it, teaching about it, and giving students opportunities to practice teaching with technology. That was in and of itself a huge, huge hurdle in terms of organizational change, adoption of technology. Of those of you who, I know most of you have studied change theory, just that stage two, getting to the point where culturally we were saying, yes, we infused technology, took us 3 years. So being a champion is a really important part of the lesson learned that that I bring to the table, because in that stage 2, the red dot you see now is not on the line. I was not teaching in the program anymore. I was on the sidelines, kind of feeding information and supporting and the change efforts of those people teaching the methods courses. Now we have launched into what we consider stage 3. We're trying to put technology now as a core component of every class. So now you see the vision for technology infusion, full infusion, is that the curriculum line, which used to be flat and then a little bit elevated in stage 2, now has a very progressive stance to it, right? So that teacher candidates get better and better at learning to teach with technology over time, to the point at which when they graduate, and this was the calling put out by the US Department of Education in the technology plan in 2016, saying, hey, teacher, education faculty, you need to do a better job of putting people out into the field that are proficient with technology, because school districts were complaining that their teacher candidates needed to be retrained in how to use technology. So we are hoping to really work with those candidates in ways that enhance their self-efficacy, and to the point at which they are leaders, they believe it's a part of good teaching. So Kevin hasn't texted me yet, so I know that oh, darn it. I'm almost there, Kevin. Back up just a minute. I just wanted to point out that in the chapter of the book, which I believe you're going to get a PDF of this chapter as an attendee for this conference or this webinar, the references contain the story, really. If you thread the articles that we've written, the journal articles, which are individual and iterative studies over time, it's kind of the thread of the story of our experience at ASU, including our setbacks and our struggles. So it might be interesting for some of you to read.
Okay, so shared experiences. At this point in the webinar, we'd like to hear from you. Rather than use any kind of electronic polling software today, we thought we would just put this quick question on the screen and have you respond in the chat box. So what we're asking is all of you to participate, and the question is, how far along are your preparation programs in adopting technology infusion based on the previous slides and how Teresa introduced technology infusion to you and whatever information you may have gathered from the book. So in the text box, if you can, please respond to one or more of the STEM items on the screen. We have not considered it yet because we have been talking about it and we have made some strides in that direction, including, or we have made significant strides in that direction, and then fill in the blank, including. So let's take about just a minute or two and share your responses in the chat box, and then we will share a few of them whole group.
It's really interesting to see these responses too. I'm just going to share while you're posting that it may be my enthusiasm for this and it aligns with my teaching philosophy, but I've yet to find anyone who doesn't believe it's the right direction to go. So I think that's on our side for all of us who are change agents and champions.
Let's just take about 30 more seconds and see if anyone else is going to post. So some similarities, some commonalities from what I see on the chat box. It looks like there are a handful of people, albeit small at this point, that we see in the chat who have talked about it in some capacity with either colleagues or administrators. I like how Madeline is actually referring to stage 2 from the figure that we shared in the previous slide and from the textbook, bringing it right back to some of the research. There has been some resistance I'm seeing as well. If we can get maybe 1 or 2 individuals who posted to the chat, or perhaps you haven't posted and would like to share, 1 or 2, just how would you respond to this poll question, and perhaps share some examples from your own experience at your institution. And I think you should be able to speak. I don't think, yeah, be certain to unmuted.
Hi, I'm Madeline.
Hi, Madeline.
I would say we're at stage 2. So we did, like you said, we had taken out our, standalone technology course. And now I'm working with all our methods professors to make sure that technology is integrated into the methodology courses. So I ordered your book and I'm excited to read more about it and figure out like kind of the next stage in terms of moving to that, more that self-efficacy point where our teacher candidates and our faculty feel very more comfortable with using technology infused in their class. So I'm excited to be here and learning from all of you. And I'm looking forward to getting your book so I can read more and understand how others are doing this successfully.
Thanks, Madeline, for sharing. Anyone else?
This is Ollie, and I guess we are between stage 1 and stage 2, maybe. We revived the technology course that had once existed, and for whatever reason, I don't know, had been sidelined. That was the start of it, knowing that we had to start infusing it. So they revived that as a quick move to be able to get something going, because that didn't require going through UGCC and the whole university system to get something up and going. And we have now built a implementation plan with a timeline, in a sense, compliments of CAPE, unfortunately. And we're looking at our next steps are infusing purposefully into the methods courses, the integration of technology with their lesson writing and unit development, which will take me training our faculty on SAMR so that they can work that if they're doing units. But also I'm looking at what the emphasis is within the methods courses as far as what their expectations are, so we can best address both the ISTE teacher standards and the ISTE student standards, which at this point is 100% within the tech course that I teach.
Mhm.
I'm looking at infusing that throughout the department so that we purposefully can scaffold through the program and build to the point that everyone's getting what they need. But we're challenged with the best way to integrate the standards in along with the rest of the content and the proper use and integration of using the media.
Thank you, Ali, for sharing as well. You hit on it in your chat post that you know, it sounds like you are making some strides, and we'll have an opportunity a bit more in this webinar to really get into this in our breakout sessions, breakout groups. You also mentioned in your post CAPE, and I think it's important to keep in mind that professional organizations could in fact be viewed and should be viewed as stakeholders, right? So what does that look like? How can we all work together on this journey towards tech infusion? Who are our champions? And so that's a nice transition into our next slide, where Arlene will talk a little bit about champions, and then we'll come back to the chat in a bit.
So Teresa had the red dots and the pink dots and the, you know, the clear dots in her figure. And the red dot she referred to as, you know, the person that's kind of at the forefront, a champion. And Ali, I think what champions do with CAPE or standards is use them to leverage. They are on the lookout for things they can use to leverage their faculty to move them forward. So the accreditation requirement can be a good thing. And I've heard from others that, you know, they do use it to move a faculty forward. And a champion, you know, as the bullet points here mention, is really, I think the essence of it is being a communicator. In real estate, you've heard location, location, location. I think in terms of being a champion, it's communication, communication, communication. You're communicating to colleagues, you're communicating, Kevin, you know, referred to stakeholders. You are out there as a link between the various stakeholders that can influence change. So I think communication and trying to, you use that to motivate people or help solve problems, remove barriers, etc. And as I thought about this slide, you know, at the end, I thought, well, what do champions do? They make it happen. Now, ISTE has a Making It Happen award, which I hadn't thought about before, but, you know, all of those people, this is a picture from one of the ISTE conferences where alums, so to speak, who've received the Making It Happen award are in this picture. So there's a large number, and every state association, ISTE affiliate also gives out Making It Happen awards. But I think those are the people that are champions. They make it happen. Now, next slide, Kevin. Are they always at the front? Are they the stars? So it took me a little time to convince Kevin and Teresa that when we wrote the foreword to the book, they would, you know, let me influence the fact that we would, not the foreword, but the preface, we would use the word water carriers, champions as water carriers. Now, how did I get to that? If you look down at the very bottom there, the Captain Class. I happen to be reading The Captain Class by Sam Walker, and it's actually a book about sports. And I am not a sports aficionado. I don't really track sports that often, except after I read this book, I started to pay a little more attention. But Sam Walker looked at teams that sustained their performance over a period of time and were really high achievers over a period of years. And he tried to look and see what made the difference. You know, was it the owner, the manager, the stars, like a Michael Jordan? Did he make the team the win over a sustained period of time? And it was the captain of the team. So he called the book The Captain Class. But the captain wasn't necessarily a star player. In fact, sometimes the captain that made a difference almost wasn't made a team member. You know, they almost didn't get on the team. But they knew how to step in and pitch in. They could lead from the back. They had high standards and expectations, and they would confront team members, you know, not confront them badly, but I forget how Teresa has mentioned it before. You know, they influence them, they work with them, they coach them from the sidelines. So, and the last thing is, you know, when the ball is dropped, they're willing to run in and help make make the pass, make the goal. So I think they make it happen. They work hard, but they also get around and circulate and work with their colleagues. They get a team together. All
So,
right.
keeping in mind what Arlene just shared on champions as water carriers, and just going back one slide to what is a champion? Champions are driven by the vision, promoters of new ideas, right? Key communicators, motivators, problem solvers. They remove barriers, they're a driving force. As Arlene mentioned, champions make it happen. So we have another quick poll we want to hear from you. Again, if you can just share your experiences, share your response to this STEM in the chat box, that would be great. And this poll asks, do you have a champion on your campus? A few of the stems that you can consider are, I view myself as a champion because, my colleagues view me as a champion because, or perhaps your dean or another administrator on campus sees you as a champion because, or perhaps you're not the champion yet. You're going through this process and trying to figure it all out, but there are other champions on your campus. Who may they include? Who might they include? So if you take, again, just a few minutes, post a response to one of those stems, and then we'll open it up for discussion. It's okay to be modest here and toot your own horn and brag if you are a champion. We want to hear from you. Okay, we'll take about 30 more seconds, just see if anyone else wishes to share in the chat box. Okay, who would like to just expand on perhaps what you posted in the chat box, or if there's someone with us today in the webinar who did not post but would like to share whole group? We'd love to hear from, about 2 or 3. We have time for about 2 individuals. And unmute to share. Thank you, Arlene, for the reminder. I'm just curious, Sunny, if you're interested in speaking. I just read your post. Are you learning how to become a champion for the first time as it relates to technology this year, this semester, as a result of perhaps this book or some recent professional development? And that was for Sunny, if Sunny is still with us and wishes to respond.
Hello, thanks for connecting with me.
Yeah.
Just plugging in today, I attended your session at ISTE and I bought your book. I'm a new tech director and I am looking for ideas and ways to be a champion of tech infusion. So that's why I'm here.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. It sounds like you're on the path. You're just starting out. Let's see. Anyone else wish to share? Okay, we will move on, and keep in mind too that we will get into some breakout rooms next. Teresa will introduce us to that activity, and we can continue this dialogue perhaps in the breakout rooms. Teresa?
Kevin, I think you went one too far. There you go. Okay, so let me just explain this picture. Everybody knows, well, people who know me know that I have to draw pictures when I think. So this is my conception of maybe the beginning stages of someone who wants to step into the leadership calling of being a champion for technology infusion. So if you are the red dot, right? And on your campus, you have several pink dots. Those are people who care about technology, but it's not really their identity. It might be something that they support. And then you have a lot of white dots, clear dots. I don't know. Arlene, I think you called them clear dots a little bit ago. Those are people who have really not an awareness or are rejecting technology for preparation programs. So I just want to share an analogy that I like to talk about, which is the idea of writing. As all of us are efficient writers, I'm very sure of that. Almost every teacher that we've interacted with, starting from kindergarten, supported our growth in writing. They cared about it to one extent or another, and they had some techniques to offer, some feedback to offer, and we became better and better and better at writing. So if you take that concept and put it across the breadth of a preparation program, then all of the faculty and all of the mentor teachers and those surrounding the teaching experience also gather together in that same care and concern toward our teacher candidates becoming adept at technology. So if we have a faculty that looks like this and it's scattered, right? You care about technology, but you really don't know how to begin that championing approach, because synergistically putting everybody in a line might look really tricky right now. So how do you envision connecting with others to create that shared vision for technology infusion? Where do you start? And I think the book, I know the book offers you many opportunities for that, because every chapter in the book addresses infusion from a different angle. And we even have some of our chapter authors here today who might be able to contribute in discussion groups about that. But the idea is to envision all of these dots with varying levels of concern about how technology is addressed in preparation programs to align and become synergistically connected to the experience of the teacher candidates. So Kevin, I think the next slide. Okay. Whoops. I need to paste into the chat. Okay, so timeout. Lori is going to break us into small groups. And Kevin, if you can go back one more slide, I think that would be better. Yeah. Lori is going to break us into small groups in just a minute. And what I'd like for you to do is copy the text that I just pasted in this chat so that you can have access to these questions as you get into your breakout room. Okay.
Ready for me to open up the rooms?
Yeah, so when you get into the breakout rooms, thanks, we're a little bit rough here. When you get into the breakout rooms, the text that you just copied will be the impetus for you to have an interesting conversation related to how these ideas of technology infusion might be advanced in your organization, in your preparation programs. And as Arlene mentioned, communication is key, right? Like, so timing, networking, how to gather people together and begin conversations that lead to that shared vision and then advancing that vision, right? So that's what we would hope for you to talk about in your breakout rooms. And we're going to send you into breakout rooms, or Lori is. And then when we come back, we would like you to be ready to share out some of your ideas. So you might want to include someone in your conversation to be the sort of record keeper, maybe, of some of your ideas, because we're going to document those into a whole group space so that you can leave this webinar with a full list of ideas from all of the breakout groups.
We sure had an interesting conversation. I hope everybody did.
So I think
Ours was fabulous. So there we go, Kevin, that's the right slide. Okay, so now what we'd like is to populate a Google Doc with some of your ideas. So Kevin, if you go backwards to a couple slides that have that one right there. So you should be able to, you know what, let me put this URL in the chat. That will make it easiest for most of you.
Yep. And then I, on the next slide, have the actual Google Doc open. So if they get the link and start typing, they'll see it on the screen.
There you go. So if everybody could go to that URL, we'll take you to an open access Google Doc. And I already started a little bit early with threading it from the stuff from my group. So you could just get an idea of some ideas that we were talking about. But if you could think about your conversations and try to populate this. I see Anonymous Moose in there already. Fabulous. So just work in a cell that doesn't have a cursor in it, and we should be set to find some ideas that we could share.
Teresa, we have about 3 to 4 minutes remaining before we need to transition onto the remaining slides to keep it within the 1 hour. Just wanted to give you a time check if you wish to start sharing out at this point.
Sure. You want me to share out some of what's on here? I'll highlight a few things. One of the things I noticed really quickly is this idea of having exemplars available. And I think making visible this effort is a tricky thing because teaching a lot of times happens in a closed door or in an online environment that we don't have access to each other's opportunities. So I think that's a design challenge that champions could be, really think about and creative about, and also talk to each other about across institutions. How might we go about exposing, right, some of these exemplar models of technology integration in courses? I know I teach online and I'm really always thrilled about my courses, but then when I talk about it to other people, they don't get it because that's just words and they don't get to experience it. So I think that's a really interesting.
Okay, I'm still typing. Sorry about that. I will keep adding to that in a moment.
I think Teresa froze up again.
Did she? Okay.
I'll just pipe in here with something.
For grants,
There she is.
I hear, sorry, I watch. I'm very aware that there are very limited grants right now with the focal point of technology. So look for technology's presence in other topic areas, which is definitely aligned with Infusion, like special education, like administrator preparation, like STEM, right? Those are areas where we can really let the curriculum be the driver as intended with Infusion, and technology is a support mechanism and a value added piece, not the focal point. And I think as a champion, learning to talk from the perspective of the curriculum, not from the perspective of technology, is helpful and important and helps you relate more so to your followers, your potential followers.
Mm-hmm. So we will keep this link open. You have the URL from the chat box. Feel free to continue adding to the document. And as the series progresses through the remaining months leading up to the ISTE conference, feel free to bring up some of these issues that we started today, perhaps in a future webinar. So we just wanted to really make it clear that the book in and of itself and the webinar series that we put together with ISTE are really designed around solution-oriented resources. So if you've started reading the book, you are aware of some of the resources we provide. And this webinar series today and those that follow, again, leading up to the ISTE conference, will hopefully provide resources to not only understand the concept of infusion, because infusion for many of us in the field is a new paradigm. It's very different than tech integration, as some of you may be familiar with that terminology, but also to really understand what is your role, what is our role in this change process, what does it look like, and to be aware that there are and will be bumps in the road in your role, and that you are a champion for attending today's series, today's webinar, and know that you're not alone in this process. The resources from this series, as well as the book, are designed to inform as well as support you in your commitment to technology infusion. And we do that, again, throughout the series and the book by really talking about resources such as theories and models and tools and strategies and activities. We provide plenty of research, both empirical and anecdotal, paradigms as well, to support you as a champion in your efforts with technology infusion. So we wanted to just leave you with a few hashtags and then some announcements. First of all, thank you for your participation. If you are on Twitter and are tweeting about this particular webinar today, or the book in general, there are two hashtags to keep in mind, hashtag championing infusion, and then of course, hashtag ISTE10. Our contact information is on this slide. Should you have any follow-up questions or wish to get a hold of one of the editors of the book or one of the authors, we encourage you to just pick up the book and look at that table of contents and contact the authors as needed. And then finally, just keeping the conversation going, and I'll refer this slide back to ISTE.
I want to thank everybody. First of all, the three of you for presenting this and bringing this forward. This is amazing stuff. I will note that Emily from ISTE has posted a link to this particular chapter in the chat, so you can go over there and download that. On behalf of the authors and the Teacher Education Network, I want to thank you so much for participating in today's webinar. Keep in mind, this is just the beginning of an exciting and engaging process that's about building community, making connections with the people that you've met here and that you're going to meet in future webinars, working collaboratively with those people, creating a plan of action for your teacher preparation program. Stay engaged. Want to remind you, next week is the second webinar. Make sure that you register for that. It's going to be another exciting topic with more key people in our industry. Make sure that you fill out the feedback form, sign up, collaborate, communicate. Let's stay in this together. I look forward to seeing all of you in future sessions.